Hiya, today's video is all about how to get your foundation to last all day. So if you find that it goes patchy or that when you layer things like your bronzer and blusher that it's lifting off the coverage you've just built, this will be the video for you. As always, everything I've used is listed in the description, so if you click to make the video full screen, the title will come up along the top. Click the arrow next to it and a full list of everything will drop down. Okay, I'm going to really hone in on complexion for this video. I'm going to start with a little bit of the Clinique Moisture Surge, which I've already gone through one pot of, and I'm on to a second one. One of the reasons why I've gone through this so quickly is that this is very much like a densely hydrating gel, and it gives you all of that moisture, but it doesn't look or feel heavy. And I think if you're finding that your makeup is separating or not lasting, something in this kind of texture would be brilliant for you. Now, by all means, there will be something in this texture across lots of different brands for different budgets, different preferences that you might have in terms of, I don't know, if it's got fragrance in it, if it hasn't, that kind of a thing. But definitely something nice and lightweight will give your skin a bit of a drink so that it leaves your foundation alone. Because I really think that if your skin is thirsty, it's going to absorb the moisture from your foundation and that will make your foundation look patchy. Whereas actually we want to get your skin nice and hydrated so that it leaves your foundation alone. Now, let me grab my brushes here. I'm going to use the It Cosmetics CC cream today. And one of the things that I think is so crucial in getting your makeup to last all day is to not use too much pressure when you're putting it on to begin with. Now, I've mentioned this a lot in previous videos, but I would say that this is something I get the most feedback about from other people. If you could see, this is the shame of it being like a video and not, you know, if I was on a makeup counter with you and showing you this, I could really illustrate it. So please just use your imagination here. If you could see how light this touches, this is barely skimming my skin. It is really, really gently skimming over my face, and basically what I'm doing is I'm placing the product on rather than rubbing it in. Now, this is true of building coverage over redness, because what you want to do is build that layer of redness rather than scrub it off before it's had a chance to set. But what I would also say is this technique is really dependent on the makeup item that you're using, and I'd really recommend having a little look on the website of whichever brand you get your foundation from and seeing what they suggest. Because, for example, I haven't got it to hand, the concealer that I often use from It Cosmetics, you have to warm that up, you have to rub it in, melt it down, really work it down and get it nice and smooth. Whereas this is the polar opposite. It's already this lovely soft gel, so you don't really need to do much work with it. I'm going to try and show you, I'm not as red as I can be, but if I use a really firm pressure, like it hasn't covered any redness. And I know that sometimes when we're rushing, you can really be like, oh gosh, quickly get it on. But actually, like, it ends up taking you more time in the long run because you're probably getting so frustrated that you're not getting your coverage that it's taking you longer with your makeup brush to sit there and get your face on. So super gentle, press these things on. And hopefully, and a lot of the time, that is really a very important step to actually building the level of coverage that you like. Now, one of the things I actually love, you know, I don't do live videos very often. If you enjoy those and you want me to do a few of them, I definitely will. For some reason, I know I always put these videos up, but it just feels different because, say for me right now, I'm making this video in my living room on my own. I'm literally talking to a phone. And then I know I'm uploading it to a place where I talk to people about makeup, but it's quite easy to forget that there's someone on the other end. Does that make sense? So I always get a bit nervous of doing the lives. But anyway, the point I was going to make was that when I actually get questions about this foundation or whatever I might have used in a video, it gives me really good prompts to know what kind of thing I need to explain. And one of the things I would explain with this, because I've used this really soft touch and I've pressed it on rather than rubbing it in too much, it's quite creamy to the touch. And if you don't want to, you know, get it all over your jumper, especially this white jumper today, you'll have to set it with a bit of powder. So the next thing I'm going to do, now that I've got everything on, is set with powder. Now, depending on your skin type, you might prefer to set with something else. You might prefer not to set. Personally, for me, I find that a little bit of powder locks everything in for the day, helps to prevent any transfer onto clothes or if you were hugging something, anything like that. And I just think it makes the wear a bit more durable. Can I just say, speaking of not transferring onto clothes, this little hoodie just came through from my friend Keeks. She's got a new series of her podcast with her friend Shah. How lovely is that? Little bit of cozy merch from Keeks. I love it. Thanks, Keeks. It's called Your Mom, obviously. And it's just like a series of conversations about all sorts of different things. But Keeks is lovely, so I think you'll enjoy. I'm listening to as well, I think I mentioned it a little while ago, I am the world's biggest fan of the TV show The OC, and Rachel Bilson and Melinda Clark have made a podcast discussing episode by episode, but I had the DVD box set of that, so I could tell you episode for episode, like every little thing. This podcast just couldn't be more made for me. Anyway, powder. While I've been harping on about a load of things that you didn't ask me for, what I've done there, you can see how soft that brush is. This is the Peaches PC03. Again, really gently, barely touching the face, but I've taken a wash of that all over. And if you have areas where you notice your makeup is just more prone to running away, this is your opportunity to actually layer more in those places. So for example, you might want to press a little bit more onto your cheek, where if that's your area where halfway through the day it's always showing through, troubleshoot it before it has a chance to, and really get in there before it flares up. And what I would say as well, I'm using a few things that I enjoy using today, but honestly, with the right kind of skincare prep, a nice hearty layer of foundation, some powder or whatever it is to set it in place, this will work across any brand. You don't need to spend a fortune. You can choose whatever fits your preferences. You know, you might like a matte finish and lots of coverage. You might like a soft, fresh finish and barely any coverage. These will work across whatever you've already got in your makeup bag. What was I going to say to you? Okay, now, one of the other things I just thought would be quite nice to talk about, I'm looking at this video actually, 8 minutes 41. I'll probably be able to do this all in one go, won't I? Which is quite nice. My friend Laura very, very kindly gave me some of these Mario makeup sticks. We often give each other things that we think we'll like and have a little play with. So what I would love to show you, first of all, I'm going to break my own rule here. I always say, especially if you're wanting to build coverage with these sticks, you know, lots of brands have these sticks, don't they? Don't necessarily swipe them straight onto your face, because if you're pressing really hard, you're going to lift the coverage you've just been trying to build. You might wish to just take it off the stick with your brush and go in that way. I am going to go in with these. I'm going to press really gently. And the reason being, they're so pigmented and lovely. And I think you'll be amazed at how soft this will actually look once I've given it a little bit of a attention and a little bit of a buffing out. So I'm just going to start, first of all, with this kind of bronze shade. And I'm taking it, working it upwards to hopefully give the illusion of a bit of lift to the skin. I have to say, I bought a couple of Mario's palettes when he first launched, and I think they're really lovely. The quality is fab. You order it from his website, which is in America, and I remember they came really quickly. And the quality of these is really lovely. I've worn them a couple of times this week, just been having a play with them. And I mean, look how nicely that's blended out. I'm just kind of working it into the hairline because I don't want that white line. I get that a lot, but anyway, I'm going to work this in. Now, what I want to show you is a tip that I remember years and years ago David Horne taught me. David is Yoda of Cosmetics here on Instagram, and he has a makeup school called House of Glam Dolls. And we first met, one of my first jobs was at the Illamasqua head office, and David was the person that made all of the makeup, and he would talk us through exactly what things were created for. Now, there was this quite neutral blusher shade. It was a, what would I describe it as? It was, if you were kind of fair skinned, it was almost like a soft brown that just looked like a bit of natural fullness to your cheek. It didn't look like you'd put a blusher on. And he basically said, if you're ever a bit frightened of a blush colour or it's really vivid, take a soft colour all over your cheeks and then add a pop of that bright colour just ever so slightly. So that's what I'm going to do. So earthy pink is going to be my soft colour. I know that is quite pink, but what I'm going to do with this is, first of all, add this kind of natural looking rosy colour. I'm going to use the same brush and just soften this out and add a nice flush of blush. I'm also going to take this, like the tiniest little bit, kind of up through the temples. What I want this to look like is that we've got a natural, you know, windswept, rosy kind of look. And again, I barely pressed my skin when I swiped that on. You know, we don't want to lift off all of that coverage we've been building. We just want to add a bit more rosiness in the right places. Tiny bit down the nose makes everything look a bit more natural. And then, wait till you see this one, it's so lovely. This does go on quite vivid, so if this, what you see now, is enough for you, fantastic. I'm going to go in with this raspberry. Now, when this goes on, it is almost like a neon kind of pink, but the tiniest bit of this, I'm going to use a different brush. This is a PC18. You get your little fluorescent here, but it's just so gentle and soft because it's melted into all of those other colours. And then the nice thing, I think this is true of any element of your makeup, you can always add more. It's much easier, especially if you're working with something super bright like this, to add a little bit more than it is if you've gone absolute hell for leather to try and take it down. I'm going to take a tiny little bit of that in my lids because they're quite peachy today. And I want to make sure we've tied it all together. But you know what that's lovely for as well? If you were getting married and you wanted like a tiny pop of radiance in your bridal makeup, but you don't want it to be too OTT, that is your kind of little soft, fresh pop. I don't think it looks too crazy, but you can really see it's given the complexion a bit of a lift. But 14 minutes, I'm going to leave it here because that's about enough time. Ultimately, want your makeup to last all day, prep with some skincare, apply a decent amount of foundation as well. A tiny little bit is not going to last the day, as well as a nice, you know, decent amount. Don't press too hard when you're putting powders on or any blushes, and it will last the day. But I'm conscious of time, so I'll love and leave you. Have a lovely weekend, and I'll be chatting to you soon. Take care.